Welcome to 101. I'm Greg Bassett, your host from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. It's a big day here at Pack 14. We might have the biggest guest we've ever had, Randy Day from Purdue Farms. Welcome, sir.
Welcome. That's an interesting introduction.
Well, it's true. You're the president and CEO of the biggest company in our area. You've got 20,000, 30,000 employees?
About 20,000.
20,000 employees. You've got an $8 billion top line. You've got a lot of work on your hands.
Got a lot of good people.
And that's the key?
That's one of the keys. Absolutely.
So how long have you been the president and CEO?
Oh boy, 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Not real good with dates sometimes. You know, when I became CEO, it was interesting. I'm not sure I was really prepared. So I remember sitting down saying, what's important? What do I do? And I picked 3 things. First was talent management. I've got to get the best group of people on the field I can get. And that's been a significant amount of my time has been spent recruiting. The second one was strategic planning. Where are we going with this business?
Right.
You know, Purdue is a collection of businesses. We have 17 business units. There's a lot of interrelationships between them, but still we operate as 17 business units organized in 2 large companies, Purdue Foods, Purdue Agribusiness. And then the third one was financial performance. You know, we're not a company that is intense about financial performance, but it's important. It's the fuel to do the things we want to do. You got to make money to buy a new business, to invest in new equipment, to invest in people. So those are my 3 priorities.
Yeah, well, being a privately held company, you don't have the pressure of a stock market situation, but at the same time, you've got a community pressure, you've got a family pressure, you've got an employee pressure to perform.
Sure. We have shareholder pressure, yeah. And we should. And it's healthy.
So it fascinates me that you do have the 2 divisions. The agribusiness division, which was spun out a couple years ago, that's a really completely separate thing.
It's very separate, except they do supply all the feed ingredients to Purdue Foods. But actually, agribusiness has been around a long time. We just didn't carve it out as a separate company. You know, we started processing soybeans in 1961. We never processed a chicken until 1968. We grew chickens and sold them at auction live, but so we've been in agribusiness a long time. And it's a wonderful business, processing soybeans, the specialty crops business we have now with processing organic soybeans, high erucic acid rapeseed, organic canola, high oleic sunflower. It's really a fascinating business.
Yeah, people who have lived here and they think they know the poultry business, but it's way more complicated than anyone knows. And I've always been absolutely amazed by the logistics. The idea that right now chickens are going into a house somewhere and in a number of weeks they're going to come out, they're going to get on the truck, the catcher's got to be there, they get on the truck, they go to the plant, and they've got to be timed out so that they're in line to go in the plant at the exact time when the plant workers are able to process those chickens. They come out, they have to be fresh, and then they're trucked to stores that need that product at that time.
Well, sometimes we do it better than other times. But it is complicated in many respects, but and it's big. You know, we have 100 million chickens on the ground at any one time and spread out all on family farms. All the animals we raise are raised by family farmers. That's important to us. We want to help keep the family farmers in business. And, you know, we don't raise just chickens either. We raise turkeys, hogs, cattle, and lamb. Not in the seafood business.
Right.
We get asked that a lot, but no, we're not in that business.
Well, I know Jim Perdue, the chairman, he toys with oysters a little bit, but never got into the seafood business.
Oysters and clams, he grows a few of those, that's right.
And the business is so different. There's so much consumer pressure now to have the chickens that run wild, and I'm not sure I completely understand that. I see it on the commercials. I understand it's a focus on the West Coast with some of the products. But is there a future in that, or is things going to stay more traditional?
You know, our history as a company when it comes to consumers is we consider ourselves a learning organization that's evolving based on what the marketplace needs and wants. You know, a few years ago, we made the decision to go 100% no antibiotics ever. That means we don't use any antibiotics in raising our animals, and that applies to all of them. And if we happen to have a sick flock and we treat them, then they're not Purdue anymore, or they're not Nyman Ranch, one of our brands.
Right.
That was a big change. We were the first major. There were smaller companies that had done that, but we were the first major company to do it. And I'll be honest with you, the industry jumped in behind that so fast and converted. And you know, the motivation behind that, besides the fact that there was a consumer demand, is the big issue with using antibiotics is that it fosters antibiotic-resistant bacteria. The more we use, whether it's in people or animals, the more antibiotic-resistant bacteria we produce. So as we reduce in our limit, reduce our need for antibiotics and usage, we're reducing the production of antibiotic-resistant bacteria.
Right.
And the fact that the rest of the industry is, for the most part, not 100%, but is on board, I think is a good thing for our country.
Right, and it's a way that you guys showed leadership in terms of your company. As Frank Perdue, when he ran the company, when it was decided that they would have a premium product, you know, chicken was chicken, you know, but then we were going to pay a few cents more a pound for a Perdue chicken that had a special quality to it.
You know, and so just picking up on that, so Frank started, and Jim did several things, and the no antibiotics ever. You mentioned free range.
Right, I forgot what it was called. Free range chickens, right?
Chicken, you know, we're the largest organic chicken company, probably in the world. And they have outdoor space that is the same size as the house itself. And we're taking a lot of our non-organic chickens in that direction. Gives them more natural behaviors. They're outside pecking around and doing what chickens do. That's important to us. You know, and then there's another concept that we're exploring, but it's a little more challenging. That's just pure pasture. They're outside all the time. We haven't got that figured out yet. That's the way we raised chickens 100 years ago when this company started.
Right.
But we couldn't raise but a few, and they didn't gain weight very well, and they didn't put a lot of meat on the bone, et cetera, et cetera. And what we've changed over the years with better diets and environments, better health, is a bigger, plumper, better to eat chicken. We have some interest in the pasture. We just have to we haven't solved that problem yet.
Right.
But we're working on it.
Right, and there's consumer demand for that people want to feel good about the chicken they're eating.
Yes, yes.
When really they should anyway, because as someone who grew up in a chicken house, it's a great environment.
Did you grow up in a chicken house?
When I had to go in there, yes, I was in there, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they kept me out of there a lot because I would yell. I get so excited when I'd see the chickens, and I'd yell like, "Hey, biddies," and they would all run into the corner and smother. So I was kept out a lot. But
I see.
Yeah, but I do love the chickens. One thing I've always wondered, the success of the Perdue farms, and this is probably an unfair question, but you saw Mr. Arthur certainly was a dynamic leader. Frank obviously was a super dynamic leader. They had a great business plan. They had great relationships with farmers and with people. Was the success due to their talent, or is it because we're located where we are in a truck farming situation with New York City? What was the key to the growth of the company?
Well, certainly Frank transformed the company. He created the brand, the consumer-facing brand. And he did a phenomenal job. I'll tell you a story. When I was in junior high school in Salisbury, at Bennett Junior High at the time, I remember my father, who was a minister here in Salisbury, he stopped in front of Frank's house on Woodland Road, and I didn't know it was Frank's house, and he said, "We have to watch this, son. This is really interesting. This gentleman says he's going to brand a chicken, and that's not been done before." And so here I am today. But you know, then it's interesting with his own style. When Jim took over, he really focused on strategic planning and looking to the future and taking the company, growing it, but taking it in other directions as well. And we've grown phenomenally under his leadership.
Yeah, and when you look at classic business models, you know, his generation was the one that was supposed to kind of give up on the business and sell it. But he's grown it, and now he's positioned, Generation 4, I guess, to even go forward with his sons in terms of leading the company.
We have 4 fourth-generation family members in the business today.
That's a great testament that they are committed and they want to be part of what's going on.
You know, they are genuinely committed. The brand is meaningful and powerful, and they feel a sense of obligation to support the brand and protect the brand.
Right. I'm not sure if I've done the math right, but you're either the 4th or the 6th president of the company in 100 years?
Well, there was Arthur Perdue, then Frank Perdue. Then 1988 to 1991, there was Don Mabe, and he's not a family member. And so for 3 years, he was the president and CEO. And then Jim took over in 91. And then so I'm the 5th.
Yeah, okay. And Don Mabe, I thought, was a great man. And
wonderful
about
man.
pressure, you know, leading the company from outside the family and doing the job he did at a time of transformation for Purdue.
Don was a wonderful man and a great leader. And he worked many years. I think he started in the mid-50s with the company.
Who was your mentor when you came into Purdue?
It was really a gentleman named Roger Covey, who I met in graduate school, and he had been working for Purdue. He's the one that hired me, and he just retired from the company this past year. And there was a gentleman named Jim Smallwood who ran sales and marketing for Purdue. But then there were others. Dr. Keith Reinhardt, who was our technical leader, he was my mentor for a time when I was running quality assurance and research and development. He was a great mentor. I had a tendency to go to where I needed help and seek out those kind of partners and leaders. And then there was always Frank and Jim. I've had the good fortune of working for both those gentlemen.
So you went to school at Western Maryland, famous graduate of Western Maryland, which is now McDaniel.
All right.
Did you join the company right from college?
No, I went to graduate school. I went to the University of Maryland, and I became a poultry nutritionist. And then when I finished that, Purdue offered me a job, and I turned them down, and I went to run a boat yard in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
It's great. Everybody should do it. I highly recommend it. Well, my wife and I we got married and came home from our honeymoon, and I had been offered a job, and we took it. And we had a wonderful time together.
How long was that?
Just a year.
Okay.
And then Purdue called, and I came back, and I've been there since this month, March 1980 is when I started.
So what role did you have in the company when you came in?
You know, I told you I was a poultry nutritionist, but I've never worked one day in these 42 years as a nutritionist. I use it every week in some capacity, but I started in logistics. And the reason I did was because they had a need. And they said, hey, this is what we really need. You'll figure it out. And my approach these 42 years has been what needs to be done, and I'll take on whatever role it is. So I've been in R&D and QA and sales and supply planning, international, food service. I went to work in agribusiness for 5 years. I've done wherever they needed me to go, I went.
And I would think that makes you a good CEO now because you've been in so many aspects of the company.
I think it helps. It doesn't make you a good CEO, but it helps you. I understand all the businesses. I know a lot of the players, having been around so long and in so many different jobs. So it's helpful, no doubt.
So was it ever your ambition to run the company?
No. Honestly, it wasn't. I wanted to advance. I wanted to do well. I wanted to provide for my family. And I wanted to help my company. I'm kind of a team player. I believe in the concept of team, and teamwork is one of our values. Our values are very important. Quality, integrity, teamwork, and stewardship. Those are our 4 values, and they are very important to us. And we live by them. And when somebody, the number one reason executives fail at Purdue is because they can't embrace all 4 of those values. And the teamwork is the one that gets the most of them.
I'm fascinated too because in the 80s and 90s there was so much criticism of the poultry industry in terms of pollution and worker issues. And a lot of that has evaporated. And I don't think it's just by magic. The company's taken steps to really improve, I think, what it does, its performance in terms of monitoring pollution, making sure that the farmers are doing the right thing, making sure that the people in the plants, have facilities that they need to do their job.
You know, a best way to talk about that is when we do our goal setting every year, we have the 4 Ps: people, products, planet, and profitability. So the first one is people. We do our goal setting on what we're going to accomplish, looking at people, and there's a variety of elements, but the primary element is safety. We have the best safety record in our industry and one of the best in manufacturing in the United States. And that's just a fact. Our numbers are wonderful. Do we have problems? Yeah, we have an industrial environment and occasionally we have issues. But we have a phenomenal record over the past 20 years. It's just tremendous what we've accomplished. Next one is products. And product quality, that's how Frank started our brand. It's really critically important to us. It's gotten so complicated as we've had this just plethora of new products in different categories. But still, product quality and food safety are paramount with us, and customer service as well. And we have very definitive metrics. Planet, we have an environmental scorecard, and we have an environmental strategic plan. We want to reduce water usage, any nutrients associated with our business, getting into watersheds. We want to always increase the management. You know, our history, I think it was, might have been 99, we launched Purdue Agri-Recycle,
Right.
where we were buying chicken litter. And there's a great misnomer. You don't realize you have to buy it.
The history was people were saying the chicken litter was causing Pfiesteria, so you did the agri-recycling plant in Seaford and turned it into a commodity, basically.
Yeah, we made an organic fertilizer,
Yeah.
but the truth is we never made a penny at it. We lost money every year. And the big part of it is because you had to buy it because it's a traded commodity. The better approach there is, and we consider ourselves a science-based company, is to look at the science and the facts. The phosphorus management tool launched by the state of Maryland, I applaud the state, and we supported them. They launched that phosphorus management tool, and if you don't know what that is, they're going to every field and they're testing for phosphorus.
Right.
And if this field is above a certain level, they say you can't put chicken litter on there, no more phosphorus. Now, chicken litter, by the way, is 2% phosphorus. So it's not a high level, but nonetheless, there's phosphorus. If this field over here has a low level, you can put it. That's science, and I think I support it. We're currently in the midst of air emission testing. We help fund it, along with the Keith Campbell Foundation, the Delmarva Chicken Association, the state of Maryland, MDE is conducting it, and we're looking at air emissions. We think if we're going to be science-based, we need to look across the state, not just on the Eastern Shore. I don't think we have a monopoly on all the issues. So and I just signed in a contract 2 weeks ago to cap an anaerobic lagoon, capture the methane, and convert it to a clean, renewable natural gas that we can generate heat from. And I would like to cap every anaerobic lagoon we have, and I think we have 4.
So you know this, how important a role is the Purdue company plays in our community. It's just unbelievable.
One of our values is stewardship. And when we look at stewardship, there are 5 different subsets to that. One is the environment, the associates in our care, the animals in our care, providing a return to our shareholders, and the communities in which we do business. And we take that seriously and we participate. I had an associate come to me last night and say, I want to join some board in our community. I want to be more of a part. They just relocated here. I think that's wonderful. I support it 100%. Who can I call and what board do you want to get on? And I think a lot of our folks, that's the way they view it. They want to be part of the community, and we want to be a part. We had a picture session today with the United Way, with our big cardboard check to the United Way, which was a significant amount. And we need to keep doing that and doing more, because that's money that goes to our community.
Yeah, I mean, the foundation, the grants that are given out, not just here, but I get the news releases at the plants down in Georgia and other places. You're spreading the love in those communities as well. And it's just the idea that you've kept corporate headquarters here, there's always, oh, Purdue's going to move to North Carolina or they're going to move somewhere. But the fact is that you've always stayed here and very committed to here. And I just don't know what things would be like without Purdue here.
Well, I'm sure the community would survive, but we're delighted to be here, and this is the home of the company. This happens to be my home, so I don't see us going anywhere.
Yeah, the Innovation Center out in the Industrial Park. My business used to be located right there, so they would have us come in and test products. So I ate a lot of chicken nuggets for free at lunch, so thank you. I appreciate that. I always really enjoyed that. But great innovation out there and all kinds of really smart people working there, living in the community that you would never imagine.
Well, we have a lot of talented people, and we have a lot of technical people. We have veterinarians, we have nutritionists, we have a microbiologist, we have food scientists. So we have a lot of talent, and we bring, like the hospital brings a ton of wonderfully talented people to the area. That's part of our role as well.
Now, you're a smart guy. You could have gone anywhere in the world, lived anywhere in the world, but you've chosen to make your home in Salisbury. Why?
I wasn't born here. I moved here when I was 10 years old and went to Prince Street Elementary School and then Bennett. But March of the 11th grade, I moved to Easton. My dad got transferred. That was of all the moves I made as a kid, that was the only hard one. But I like this area, and I had a rule with my kids: you have to get out of here when you go to college. You can't stay here. You got to get out. And they all did. They all went away, and they all came back. I didn't ask them to come back. I'm happy they did. I'm delighted they did, and because all my grandchildren are here now. So the odds of me going anywhere aren't very good.
Right now, your son came back, and has he done anything to help the community?
Yeah, my youngest son is a farmer, and he came back from college and is farming, but I think you were probably talking about the other one.
Yeah, who's he?
So he's the one that surprised me. I thought Jacob would, Jacob, when he went to Maryland and then he went to Carnegie Mellon, then he went to Oxford and got a couple of degrees, and I thought he'd end up in a big city, and he wanted to come back, and he is... I think politics today is so polarizing, but I'll tell you, he genuinely loves this area, and he's committed to revitalizing. And I hear people say, well, he's working on Salisbury. Well, that's because he's the mayor of Salisbury. He's not the mayor of the Eastern Shore or Wicomico County, but he loves the whole area. He grew up here with me, fishing, duck hunting. I introduced him to all the wonderful things. He doesn't pick crabs much. He doesn't eat oysters much, which I don't understand. But he genuinely loves the area, and all three of my kids do.
Where do you see Purdue Farms headed?
I think we have a wonderful future. I see Purdue. I don't see us with explosive growth, but I see us continuing to expand, pursuing consumer trends. I'll give you 2 examples, and I could probably give you 10, but a few years ago, we're the largest organic chicken company. We weren't doing any cooked organic chicken. Well, now we have the #1 brand in Purdue Simply Smart Organic of cooked organic chicken products in the country. And our mantra in going into that was we wanted to create affordable organic. And the thing I would say in meetings, do you have to be rich to eat organic? Can't we make this more affordable? And it's a surprisingly affordable product in the meat case or in the frozen food case. Then, we launched another product called Chicken Plus. There's a big thing about plant-based products that simulate meat products, which is fine. If that's what you want, that's fine. In fact, we have some. We have them under a Dino Buddy brand. But it was interesting. We decided we wanted to get in that business. And I remember going to the grocery store and looking and thinking, goodness gracious, there's already 25, 30 brands.
Right.
It's crowded. How do we be unique? And we were feeding our oldest grandson lunch one day. And my wife and I, we'd given him the chicken nuggets and strawberries and I think it was peas. And he ate the nuggets and he was picking at the strawberries and he wasn't going to touch that green stuff. And I was thinking, if I had that green stuff inside that nugget and he didn't know it, he'd be eating it. So we created stealth vegetables and we put them in our chicken nuggets. So every time you get a serving of chicken plus nuggets, you're getting a 1/4 cup of vegetables. Like cabbage and cauliflower and chickpeas. Can you imagine your kids sitting down eating cabbage, cauliflower, and chickpeas? You know, and there's a lot of other new things coming. This morning, that group talked to me about they have 27 new innovations they're testing. There's a lot of exciting things. You know, we're in our agribusiness side. They continue to go down this specialty crop area. It's just absolutely fascinating to me. So high uric acid rapeseed, the oil that comes from that we crush and refine.
Right.
That's like the slip agent in plastic bags. That's what keeps Jif peanut butter from separating.
Right.
It's just a natural oil that we get out of, it's a canola-like product.
Right, and that soybean crusher is going 24 hours a day out there on Hobbs Road.
That one is, that's for sure. That's a very good business for us.
Yeah, and it's a product that you never would, you know, Mr. Arthur Perdue never would have imagined a product like that.
Well, I think he was well aware that it was, you know, soybean meal is the primary protein source in animal feed. And Frank had the vision and had that built 1960, 1961. And it was it was a stroke of genius, really, as far as I'm concerned.
Do you have a favorite Frank Perdue story?
I have several. You know, he only really got mad at me one time, and he called me up one time, and it was about late deliveries, and he asked me if you have a driver that delivers a load late, do you sit down with that driver one-on-one and talk to him? I said, no, I don't do that. Oh, he got me. How did you get your job? Well, by now, he was mad at me and I was mad at him, so I said, you know what? That's not my job. That's your transportation manager's. You want me to transfer you? Classic Frank. He said, yeah, would you? Frank didn't hold a grudge.
Yeah.
You know, he was wonderful that way. He'd get it off his chest and then he'd say, hey, let's go to lunch.
Randy Day, thanks for taking time. I know you're a busy guy and I've been trying to get you on for 3 years. Just thrilled that you're here, and thanks for all the work you do, and you're running a great company. Thanks for all that Purdue Company does for our community.
Thank you. Pleasure.
I'm Greg Bassett from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. Another student one-on-one right here on Pact 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support Pact 14 and one-on-one. We'd encourage every business to support Pact 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.